I want to play my Gibson Custom 1959 Les Paul Standard VOS. We're going to find out if this thing's any good. This video isn't like other videos out there, you know, where they talk for like 7.5 to 8 minutes, and then they only play the guitar for like a minute, minute and a half. We're going to play the heck out of this thing. They're still going to be talking though. We're also going to be doing some comparisons with some other custom bursts. And as always, the signal chain is listed in the description down below. There's also chapter markers, so if you want to skip around, you can do that. But enough talking, let's get after it. So you can't really do a review on YouTube unless you talk about the specs, right? I'm gonna try and do that quickly and then we'll get to 5 more sound samples. So starting off, we have a VOS Vintage Original Sheen finish. So if you take the Gibson USA finish and, you know, make it a little thinner, a little lighter, and basically apply some more coats, you have the VOS Vintage Original Sheen finish. That goes on top of a non-weight relieved single piece of lightweight mahogany back and a carved 2-piece maple top. We have a single piece mahogany medium C neck carve over a bound rosewood fretboard. The front of the headstock, you will see the inlaid Gibson logo and the silk-screened Les Paul model logo. It's up a little higher to be historically accurate, so a little higher than the Gibson USA models. On the back of the headstock is where you're going to find the Kluson Vintage Deluxe tuners. These are vintage sizing. So that means if you wanted to swap these out for some like modern size locking tuners, you would have to remount the holes to make them larger to fit the tuners through. We also have a nylon nut. The bridge here is an ABR1 with a stop bar. The ABR1 is drilled directly into the body, unlike the Gibson USA, which has a metal doweling system. We have 2 volumes and 2 tones. The potentiometers here are the CTS Gibson branded audio taper potentiometers. Everything's hand soldered. We do have the paper and oil, so the bumblebee capacitors as well. 3-way toggle switch. And that all controls the custom buckers. These are Alnico 3 unpotted pickups. That's it for the specs here. here's 5 more sound samples. Now, I do say this in every single one of these videos, but I find it mildly entertaining to say, so I'm doing the next part here to appease the internet. I'm doing this to prevent tears from forming themselves into comments. It's beneficial, but really, I like saying that. So I am going to play this in all 3 pickup positions in clean. But personally, I've always found a little more benefit in hearing how pickups react to a little bit of light drive, so here's that. And as far as the potentiometers and the capacitors, let's go ahead and wiggle some knobs here and let's listen to them. Now you might be wondering what the Gibson USA Les Paul Standard 50 sounds like in comparison to the 59 here. I have a better comparison, or like a more in-depth sound comparison. So if you want to take a look at that, take a look in the description down below. But I mean, you're looking at a thicker neck. This has the 50s baseball bat style, so it's more akin to the chunky C neck profile, whereas the 59 has the medium C because, you know, from 58, 59, and 60, they had to have different neck profiles to kind of slim things up. So keep that in mind, but let's go ahead and listen to a 3 pickup position comparison. Naturally, you might also be curious to hear what a 1958 VOS sounds like, as this was the first year for the bursts. So this again has the chunky C neck profile. We have a plain maple top, and this has the medium C with a very figured, highly figured, flamed maple top. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Of course, to round things out here, we should do a comparison with the final year of the initial bursts, the 1960. Now, this is a ultra light aged Murphy Lab, which I can never ever get the aging to actually show up here, but keep that in mind. The big differences here, other than the double ring tuners rather than the single ring tuners, the reflector knobs would be the neck. So this has the slim taper, so the blade style neck rather than the medium C. Alright, so that is it for all of the sound samples and the sound sampled comparisons. So that should give you enough information, you know, with my hands and my amp choices, or amp setting choices, and what I chose to play, you know, whether to decide whether you think this is a good sounding guitar or not. But it's at this point in the video where I like to talk about my thoughts on the guitar, my thoughts and my opinions here, so keep it in mind. What I like might be completely different to what you like. But in the grand scheme of things, if you look at my favorite guitars, this definitely is very high up on that list. It is not my favorite guitar, though. That generally goes to my 1958 and then my 1957. This, I don't know where it sits. It's usually probably around 3 or 4. It's just really depends on the day of the week, whether I prefer my 56 or my 60 over this one, but it's hard to deny the beauty of the holy grail of the 1959. And the big thing here with this guitar is the neck itself. So they used to have, like historically, if you look at guitars and stuff like that, necks started out being in more of like a very thick V shape, because some companies didn't like to adopt the whole truss rod idea. Then with truss rods, they sort of ditched the V shape So that's when you started to get like Chunky C or Chunky C Plus, like my 1956, which has the thicker Chunky C. Then guitars started to slim down their necks. So this was really one of the first years that Gibson properly did that, although the neck sizes and stuff like that did vary, of course. But this is where like medium C came in from the Chunky C neck profile. And then from there, slimmed down to the slim taper, which was on the 1960, and even then there were two different profiles. So some of the medium C did sort of carry over, but it was mostly that blade style slim taper for the 1960s. Being a big fan of chunky necks, that is why this doesn't top the list. If this had the Chunky C neck on it, this would probably be my favorite guitar, because it just has a whole heck of a lot of mojo to it. The flame here is just undeniable. I have been offered a lot more money than what I've paid for this guitar, just for this guitar, because of the flame. This is one of those flames where people just say you have to see it in person and then try to, offer like $5,000 more than what I paid for it to get it. But this guitar is just fantastic. I don't see myself selling it. And even then, if I did, it would probably have to be at double the price. The custom buckers here, what I've been comparing them to, obviously, is the Gibson USA stuff. So, like the 61R, the 61T, which those are just, even though they are unpotted and such, there's just a little more emphasis on the low end and the high end. And then the Burstbucker 2 and 1, which are in the standard 50s. So those, I used to think those were the best pickups that Gibson made until I tried these. They're just very well balanced, but they don't have that just really sweet top end that the custom buckers have here. So I do find a lot of benefits with the custom buckers for a whole slew of type of music. I'm one of those guys where I like well balanced pickups and a little bit more reserved rather than hotter pickups for like high gain. I just find that when it comes to hotter pickups, you have to adjust your amp for that. Whereas more reserved pickups that have a little more balance to them, like on the whole sound frequency, they just work a little more, a little better for high gain stuff. And they also lend themselves very well to basically any other style. So you don't have to go and adjust your amp because there's too much low end in your pickup or there's too much high end in your pickups. So just has a really nice sweet top end to it, not too much, just something that adds a little bit of emphasis on it where you don't have to go to your amp and start turning down the treble or anything. And this is a Les Paul. Shocking, right? So you do have some really good access to the upper frets. Some guitar players do complain that getting up to the 22nd fret just takes a little bit of practice as opposed to like an SG or, something a little more modern that has like 24 frets or such. But it's just something that really suits me well, and I have no issues whatsoever going up to the 22nd fret. And of course, playing rhythm, so chording and strumming and stuff like that, just comes very natural on a Les Paul body. And especially I've always found like non-weight relieved Les Pauls, there's just a lot more balance to them. There's not too much resonance, there's not too much presence, there's not any type of like absence of presence or resonance, so that low end or the top end when you're playing it acoustically. The VOS stuff is just really well balanced. Now, I don't know if that has to do with the fact that the ABR1 is drilled directly into the body, the fact that these are nickel-plated brass saddles, or, of course, the fact that this uses hot hide glue. There's just a whole bunch of things that go into it, and it's a cornucopia, if you will, of reasons to why this guitar rings out as a single freaking piece of wood. They don't call this the Holy Grail for no reason. The big thing here is whether or not you prefer this neck over a 60s blade style or the earlier 58 baseball bat style. That's really what a lot of things to do with Les Pauls comes down to. Don't know if that was grammatically correct, but there we have it. Thanks for watching.